Brooklyn and Lulu. What is the endgame? Brooklyn's plan has been a mystery to fans since she began studying Rocco's pregnancy. Brooklyn appears to believe Rocco is unaware of how he came to be, based on a flashback in which Lulu stated that she does not lie to her children. The Reddit user ChulinFan questioned the purpose of this narrative, writing, "I don't see where this Rocco thing will even hurt that many people, honestly, because Lulu and Dante are still his biological parents. This will not have a significant impact on his life." That's a reasonable point, which puts us back to the question of whether this is about rewriting Rocco's origin narrative and making Britt his mother. In Thursday's recap, poster Nola Girl seemed to believe that's what this is about. I'm sorry, but so far this whole Rocco parentage storyline is a really stupid excuse to bring back Kelly Thibault. MZZ added. Yup, and trash BLQ some more. Although I'm looking forward to Thibault's return, this storyline is strange. Viewers agree that Brooklyn was an idiot for putting a file labeled Rocco Falconeri in large letters where anyone, including Rocco and Danny, might discover it. Unless that was her intention. Then there's Lulu's relationship with Gio, which is rubbing viewers the wrong way, especially this one. It's cringeworthy that the lady who helped blow up Joe's life is now closer to him than Brooklyn, who has known Gio since he was a child. And don't get me started on Joe's misguided rage. I could understand if he were a small child, but not a 20-something crying, "My mother didn't want me." Though their relationship isn't there yet, Gio and Emma require a pregnancy crisis to open Joe's eyes. Other storyline ponderings. Hey Sasha, haven't we learned the value of having a nanny cam in the nursery during the last few months? While many people believe Daisy's nightly visitor is a broken willow, I mentioned in last week's column that it may be someone as harmless as the baby's grandma, Holly. This week, Holly's name mysteriously appeared just as Daisy received another scary visit. A red herring? We could scarcely celebrate Tracy's victory over Drew because Kai revealed Curtis' plot for Jacinda to the congressman. I hope there aren't too many fans of Trina and Kai, because the writers killed them off before they really got started as a relationship. How did Natalia deduce from their chat that Sonny would be traveling with her to Belize? And Natalia's blabbing about Sonny's dirty money to Brooklyn and confiding in Marco about leaving the nation will only lead to her death. Finally, Dante's apology to Jason for being a jerk to him and criticizing his parenting was a positive step toward removing the stick he'd been carrying about for a while. Brooklyn Quartermain and Lulu Spencer had always had a difficult relationship, shifting between antagonism and hesitant cooperation depending on the season and who they were fighting for. Theirs was not a classic quarrel, founded not of betrayal or tragedy, but of opposing personalities and deeply ingrained family identities that never seemed to align. Over time, what had once been heated debates over minor misunderstandings turned into full-fledged standoffs that left supporters frustrated, rather than entertained. What began as a sharp and hopeful tug-of-war between two passionate women had become stale, a cycle of repetition that no longer seemed to serve any obvious purpose. Longtime General Hospital watchers had been following their friction since the beginning, when Brooklyn was still trying to carve her place in the Quartermain family legacy and Lulu was looking for herself outside of being a Spencer. The two frequently collided in scenarios involving mutual friends, romantic relationships, or family politics. Initially, their interactions felt unpredictable and complicated due to the jumbled overlap. However, somewhere along the way, the stakes stopped changing, and their confrontations began to feel recycled. Old grievances rehashed with no character development to show for it. Their most recent conflict erupted over what some fans regarded as yet another minor issue, one involving Leo's school fundraiser, Dante's time with Rocco, and a public misunderstanding that escalated into a bitter public argument. Brooklyn had expressed her dissatisfaction of Lulu's most recent parenting decisions, hinting that Lulu was once again putting her personal desires ahead of her child's needs. In response, Lulu accused Brooklyn of being judgmental and self-centered, alleging that everything Brooklyn touched eventually fell apart due to her unwillingness to be honest or vulnerable. Fans were irritated by the delivery of the argument rather than the subject itself. The same old slurs, the same repeated grievances. It was as if time had stopped, and neither lady had progressed beyond their worst selves. Viewers were most disappointed by how needless the storyline had become. Instead of proceeding to anything more significant, such as personal growth, forgiveness, or perhaps an unexpected alliance, their continual feud remained stuck in a cycle. Even when the writers hinted at a potential truce or moment of mutual understanding, the show always went back to square one. For other fans, Brooke Lynn and Lulu appeared to be written not as persons, but as story devices, hurdles in each other's life designed to create drama without providing a deeper emotional payoff. This standstill was especially disheartening, because both ladies had shown hints of maturing into complicated, three-dimensional characters at various points throughout the show's extended run. Brooke Lynn had struggled to establish herself in a family that frequently ignored her ability. She had been through heartbreak, professional disappointments, and some very humiliating betrayals. And while she'd made plenty of mistakes, many of which she admitted with her trademark stubbornness, she'd also demonstrated a strong desire to be loved and treated seriously. Fans had witnessed her fight with her identity, from hopeful vocalist to hesitant businesswoman, from mischief maker to someone attempting to lead with ethics. Similarly, Lulu had felt the emotional impact of her family's legacy. As Laura's daughter, she had frequently attempted to strike a balance between rebellion and duty. She had lost too much too soon, and her sadness influenced her decisions, sometimes recklessly, sometimes defensively. But she'd also grown. As a journalist, a mother, and someone who had experienced heartache and illness, Lulu had repeatedly demonstrated her ability to fight for what she believed in and defend those she cared about. So why, supporters wonder, are these two ladies reduced to bickering over who Dante spends more time with, or whose opinion of Olivia's cuisine is more important? There's a common belief among dissatisfied fans that the show constantly returning to Brooke Lynn and Lulu's conflict because it's easy low-hanging fruit in the huge orchard of character interactions. Their past creates tension, and when the script tries to create more exciting or innovative arcs, the show returns to what previously worked, thinking nostalgia will carry the tale. But it isn't working anymore. The interaction appears forced, and both characters appear to be locked in a state of arrested development, especially when other characters surrounding them, such as Maxie, Sasha, and even Ava, are given more nuanced emotional journeys. Another aspect that has disappointed viewers is how their animosity consistently overshadows any possibility of sisterhood. In a community dominated by male-driven legacies, mobsters, doctors, and tycoons, Port Charles's women have always served as the show's emotional center. When two powerful female characters go from rivalry to camaraderie, it's immensely intriguing. Brooke Lynn and Lulu might have testified to this. Their same experiences surviving family strife, overcoming loss, and parenting under public scrutiny should have united them. Instead, they continue to undercut one another in ways that feel less dramatic and more like regression. It doesn't help that their disputes frequently function as plot filler during gaps in the larger stories. Just as the audience is anticipating a huge discovery concerning Sunny or a shocking twist in a murder investigation, the momentum is broken by a cafe dispute between Brooke Lynn and Lulu over who RSVP'd late to Monica's birthday lunch. Fans do not dislike interpersonal turmoil. In fact, they enjoy it. That is the bread and butter of soaps. However, when the emotional stakes feel artificial or divorced from the characters' larger arcs, the drama loses its impact. And that is exactly what has been happening. It's also worth noting that the women are frequently portrayed as catty, impetuous, and insecure when they're together, which many fans have condemned as lazy writing. Brooke Lynn becomes overly aggressive. Lulu becomes sanctimonious. When they are at odds, their motivations have little substance. Instead of being motivated by genuine emotional conflict, their disagreements frequently come from little slights or misunderstandings, which then escalate into melodramatic situations that go nowhere. This practice not only undermines the personalities, but it also reinforces outdated notions about how women interact. Some fans have offered suggested remedies. One concept that has taken popularity on social media is a storyline that requires Brooke Lynn and Lulu to collaborate, either as co-leaders of a campaign for a neighborhood arts facility, or in a shared custody arrangement that puts Rocco at the heart of a delicate balance. The goal would be to push them together under conditions that require growth, patience, and, eventually, forgiveness. Watching them fumble through cooperation, battle to trust each other, and possibly create a reluctant bond would be far more intriguing than yet another spat over small matters. Others have suggested that it may be time to completely separate them. Let Brooke Lynn's plot revolve around her singing career, her relationship with Chase, or the generational conflict within the Quartermain family. Allow Lulu, after fully recovered from her coma, To begin a new life focused on her journalism, political ambitions, or battle to define herself as a Spencer in a society where her father's legacy still looms big. By giving them separate paths that don't always meet, the show might allow both women to mature independently, and if they do conflict again in the future, it will be from fresh, layered tension rather than old hatred. Brooke Lynn, with all her boldness and intransigence, deserves to be recognized for her keen wit and fierce loyalty in more than simply conflict situations. And Lulu, who has fought for her family and dignity more times than fans can count, deserves better than to be the permanent target of another woman's rage. Their tales should be important, not as distractions or conflict fodder, but as meaningful emotional arcs that indicate something about their resilience, fragility, and potential to change. Fans are speaking up more than ever, urging the writers to reconsider this dynamic. In a program with a rich cast of characters and decades of sophisticated storytelling, there's no excuse for returning to the same old route. Brooke Lynn and Lulu could be more than rivals. They can be leaders, survivors, and complex women with rich emotional lives who don't have to engage in eye-roll-inducing conflicts every time they share a scene. General Hospital has always been at its best when it takes risks, defies expectations, and dares to push characters into unfamiliar emotional territory. It's done it before with characters like Carly, who went from troublemaker to matriarch, and Ava, whose transformation from villainous to bereaved mother surprised even her harshest critics. Brooke Lynn and Lulu deserve to be treated similarly, because if not, fans are concerned that they will be locked in the same cycle, and the audience may eventually cease caring. And that would be the most tragic of all. Because despite the exasperation, moans, and eye rolls, there is still a profound affection for both ladies. Fans are unwilling to give up on them. They want them to prosper. They want them to be dynamic and not stagnant. They want them to be worthy of their legacy. Brooke Lynn Quartermaine and Lulu Spencer are the daughters of Port Charles royalty. They deserve stories that reflect not only where they have been, but also who they can become. So what is the point? That's the question that viewers keep asking. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much to let these characters stagnate. They want fire, not recycled flames. Growth, not circular tension. And if the authors can rise to that challenge, maybe, just maybe, Brooke Lynn and Lulu will finally break away from their stale patterns and become the intriguing strong forces fans have long known they might be. General Hospital spoilers and updates suggest that, while Sasha Gilmore Corbin believes Michael Corinthos is a wonderful father, she is determined to raise their kid on her own. Sasha has seen how much Michael adores Daisy Gilmore Corinthos, but this has not changed her mind. Michael does not have any custody rights. At this point in the story, Michael has no custody rights over Daisy. In fact, Michael's name is not included on the birth certificate since Sasha likes it. We appreciate that Michael is attempting to be considerate and respects Sasha's opinions. But what about his own? Is Sasha's fixation on being a single mother really fair to Michael? Many GH viewers are wondering if Sasha is wrong for restricting Michael from playing a fully fatherly role with Daisy. Michael definitely wants to co-parent with Sasha and be an involved father to their kid. Sasha's concerns about Daisy's safety are understandable. Sasha is understandably concerned about Daisy's ties to the Quartermaine and Corinthos families. The Quartermaines can be cruel, and the Corinthos name is connected with dangerous criminal connections. Sasha is currently living with the Quartermaines, and Jason Morgan, Sonny Corinthos' right-hand man, is pretending to be her child's father. Furthermore, the public is already aware of Daisy's paternity, so any potential adversaries will not be deterred. Daisy is related to both the Quartermaine and Corinthos families, despite not having their surnames. Sasha's explanation didn't make much sense, given that even if Jason had kept playing baby daddy, he was a Quartermaine working for a Corinthos. It appears the writers did not know where to go with the story. At times, it appears like the GH writers were unsure how to develop this tale. Regardless, Sasha has a strong connection with Michael and recognizes him as an excellent father to Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Michael is eager to assume responsibility for his third child, so it seems unreasonable to deprive Daisy the whole fatherhood experience as well. Sasha stated that Daisy would comprehend Michael as her father, but that does not imply that she has a present father who is involved in her life. Again, Michael's absence from the baby's existence makes little sense. A half-dozen of one is equivalent to 6 of the other. Michael's full involvement in the picture would benefit everyone. It looks like allowing Michael to be fully involved would benefit everyone. Ultimately, Michael played a role in bringing this little one into the world, and deserves a say in the future. Is it possible that Michael may seek further involvement? Might Michael and Sasha's eventual romantic reconciliation help them to become a harmonious family unit? According to General Hospital spoilers, there are still some surprising twists in store for Daisy, so keep a watch out for any major updates. The serene calm that had come into Sasha's life in the weeks after Daisy's birth was delicate, and she knew it. Every step she took, every decision she made, was weighed down by the weight of her past mistakes and the urgent desire to safeguard the future she was only now trying to rebuild. Daisy, her second opportunity at parenthood, was both a miracle and a steadfast anchor. After everything she had lost, from Brando to Liam, Sasha had finally been given the opportunity to love a child again. And this time she would do everything correctly. At least that was the plan. However, nothing in Port Charles stays easy for long, especially when hearts and histories are intertwined. Daisy felt the heavy responsibility of motherhood again, as soon as she was placed in Sasha's arms. The delight was raw and strong, as was the terror. She had hardly begun to feel safe in her new life when concerns began to arise regarding Daisy's father, who should have a part in her upbringing, and if Sasha was strong enough to handle everything on her own. One particular question persisted. What happened to Michael? Sasha had previously known Michael Corinthos as more than simply a buddy. Their connection, previously strained by loss, betrayal and emotional diversions, had left an imprint on both of them. They had attempted love before, when everything was coming apart, and it had not worked out. But that didn't erase the link they'd formed, which was based on shared sadness, compassion, and a desire to protect those they cared about. When Sasha found that she was pregnant with Daisy, Michael jumped right in, expressing his unwavering support. He never questioned paternity or demanded clarification. He just said, "Whatever you need, I'm here." At first, Sasha accepted his assistance. Michael was friendly, steady, and experienced. He was already a dedicated father to Wiley and Amelia, and his calm demeanor helped Sasha adjust to new motherhood, while still dealing with the trauma of Liam's death. Michael stayed up with her for long evenings, cradling Daisy when Sasha was too tired to open her eyes. He assisted with doctor's appointments, supplied the nursery with the necessary supplies, and even prepared a dinner train to keep Sasha from burning out. For a while it felt like a collaboration. Not romantic, not even really familial, but something supportive and therapeutic. Then things began to shift. It began subtly, with a query here and a suggestion there. Michael offered advice on Daisy's feeding schedule, or gently encouraging Sasha to get a nanny so she could return to deception. He was not pushy, but the change was evident. He began using language like "our daughter" or "we should decide," and Sasha tried to ignore it, but her chest tightened every time she heard it. Michael was taking on a position that she had not asked him to take, and she had no idea how to stop it without harming him. Because the reality was complicated. Michael was not Daisy's biological father. He was not even the child's legal guardian. Daisy's conception was complicated and private, and Sasha had opted to keep the biological father's identity a secret, not out of shame but out of safety. That man, whatever he was, made it apparent that he did not want to be engaged. And Sasha had accepted it. She had accepted the fact that she would be raising Daisy alone. But Michael had walked in like a guardian angel, offering his heart and resources without condition. And for a mother who had suffered so much grief, his presence felt like a gift. However, such gift was not without consequences. The tension reached a boiling point one afternoon at the Quartermain estate. Sasha had brought Daisy to see Michael, and the visit had begun well, laughter, baby laughs, and anecdotes about Wiley's newest science experiment. When Michael casually recommended adding Daisy's name to the family's medical insurance, something inside Sasha snapped. She didn't yell or cry, but her tone was chilly as she stated, "Michael, I didn't ask for that." Michael blinked, taken aback. "I was only trying to help. I want to make sure she and you are both taken care of." "I appreciate that," Sasha responded softly. "But this isn't your responsibility." Michael put down the toy he was holding and glanced at her. Really stared at her. "I understand I'm not her biological father, Sasha. But I've been here since day one. I have been in her life. I care for her. Doesn't that mean something?" It does, Sasha said, her hands tightening on the infant carrier. But caring about her doesn't make you her dad. The hush that followed was terrible. Sasha departed shortly after, her emotions churning in a tempest she couldn't control. She wasn't upset at Michael precisely, but she was overwhelmed. She had created a fragile new life for Daisy and herself, and Michael was unknowingly threatening to change it. His assistance had been crucial, but his developing sense of ownership over Daisy was becoming an issue. Sasha felt she needed to draw a boundary, for her own peace of mind and Daisy's future. But was she mistaken? Everyone held an opinion. Maxie believed Sasha was overreacting. Michael's a great guy, she reminded her. What's the harm in becoming a father figure? Daisy could do much worse. Brooklyn was more cautious. I get it, she remarked, drinking her coffee while sitting on the deception office couch. It's your decision. If it seems like too much, it probably is. Don't allow guilt dictate your decision for you. Even Carly, who had a complicated relationship with Sasha, spoke up during a hospital benefit. Michael has a big heart, but he can overstep, she admitted candidly. You have to make the boundaries clear now, before he builds a future in his head that doesn't match yours. Sasha appreciated the advice, but it didn't make the decision any simpler. She knew Michael's heart was just where it should be. He adored Daisy, and in many ways, he had earned his position in her life. But Sasha couldn't escape the deep-seated dread that someone else would end up making decisions for her child, and that she would lose control of her role as a mother. So she made a decision. She sat Michael down in her apartment, Daisy resting in the next room, and softly but firmly told him she needed to step back. That, while she appreciated everything he had done, she did not want him to take on the role of Daisy's father. She said he couldn't claim that job. Michael took it harder than she anticipated. I'm not trying to take her away from you, he added calmly. I don't want her to grow up believing I didn't care. She won't, Sasha promised him. But she needs to know the truth, not misunderstanding. I need to raise her in my own way with my ideals. And I need to know that I'm doing it without feeling obligated to provide an explanation. Michael nodded, swallowing heavily. So what do you want from me? I want you in her life, Sasha stated. But as a friend. As a form of support. Not like her father. That role is mine. I need it to be mine. Michael did not argue. But the hurt in his eyes persisted. Things altered during the next weeks. Michael drew back, graciously but obviously. He stopped by unannounced. He did not deliver materials or offer parental advice. Sasha was relieved as much as heartbroken by the stillness, because she missed him. She missed his presence, his kindness, and the way he made the pandemonium seem bearable. However, she did not regret her decision. Motherhood had been taken from her once before. She had lost Liam in the most horrible circumstances. Daisy's presence had reopened her heart, but it had also reminded her of what she had lost, and what she would not lose again. This child, this life was hers to mold. She needed to know she could do it her own way. Still, questions remained. Is she punishing Michael for being kind? Was she putting her previous concerns onto someone who genuinely wanted to help? Some evenings, as Daisy slept alongside her in a bassinet, Sasha wondered if she'd made the right decision. But every time she saw her kid breathe, protected and loved, she felt the answer settle within her. She was not saying no to love. She was agreeing to clarification. And clarity was invaluable to someone who had before been trapped in a fog of grief and mental illness. Michael, for his part, respected her decision. He continued to inquire about Daisy from a distance, sending a text here and a message there, but he no longer attempted to insert himself into their life. He concentrated on his own children, on creating a life with Willow and their family. He began to heal gradually as well. Sasha was confident that they would always care for one another. That relationship had not been severed, only changed. Daisy might one day ask about the man who used to rock her to sleep and bring her goofy stuffed animals. Perhaps Sasha would tell her about Michael, the man who stepped in when no one else did, who loved without a title, and who respected her mother enough to let go. Because love was not always about being close. Sometimes it was just knowing when to take a step back. Sasha still endured restless nights, bouts of fear, and the agony of parenting alone. But she also felt empowered, capable, and prepared to face the future, which she was creating not only for Daisy, but also for herself. She'd made her decision, and for the first time in a long time she felt at ease with it. General Hospital spoilers tease whispers are swirling of an unexpected partnership on the horizon between Nina Reeves and Michael Corinthos, united by a shared goal to dismantle Drew Quartermaine. With Drew's monstrous manipulations, lying about Michael's Germany rejection of Willow Corinthos, and traumatizing Wiley Corinthos with false abandonment claims, pushing both to their limits, this alliance could spell his ruin. As Michael fights to maintain custody of Amelia and Wiley Corinthos and Nina seeks to protect Willow from Drew's control, could their uneasy truce topple him? Will their pact hold, or crumble under their rocky history? A shocking alliance forms. Nina and Michael, long at odds, could find common ground in their disgust for Drew's schemes. Nina's guilt over her fling with Drew might drive her to make amends in her own messed-up roundabout way. Michael, fueled by Drew's betrayal, might agree to team up, possibly leveraging some insider knowledge of Drew's overseas masterminding, should he chase down the truth about what happened at that burn clinic. If they pool resources, will their alliance expose Drew's lies? Or will their mutual distrust derail the plan? Drew's vulnerabilities may be exposed. Drew's grip on Willow through their engagement and his claim to help her regain visitation is faltering as his secrets pile up. Although a former partnership between Nina and Carly Spencer fell apart, a similar agreed-upon measure may work between Michael and Nina. Moreover, if Nina reveals their fling, maybe in a desperate plea to Willow, it could shatter Willow's trust, while Michael's evidence of Drew's wily manipulation could sink his credibility. Their combined efforts might even expose Drew's Esplanade deal as a front, catching the eye of Mayor Laura Collins. But if Drew senses their plot, his counterattack could exploit Nina's past or Michael's custody win. Can they outmaneuver him, or will Drew turn the tables? Pact fraught with risk. Nina and Michael's alliance is a high-stakes gamble. Given their history of clashing, Nina's schemes once hurt Michael's family deeply. If they succeed, Drew's downfall could free Willow and reshape these broken families, but a misstep could fracture their trust. Will Nina and Michael's unlikely partnership be the key to Drew's downfall? Or will their fragile pact collapse, letting him slip away unscathed? Drew Cain had always considered himself a man of principle. Even when memories were stolen from him, even when life placed him in impossible positions, he clung to the idea of fairness, of doing the right thing even when it was hard. But in Port Charles, those principles were constantly tested, and recently, Drew found himself entangled in something far more twisted than he'd ever anticipated. The whisper of corruption had always surrounded the courtroom, especially in high-stakes cases involving the Corinthos family. But Drew never expected to find direct evidence of it, not until he accidentally stumbled across a string of encrypted documents stored in an old file on a drive left in Aurora Media's archives. What began as a casual review of outdated legal material soon became something much darker. The documents pointed toward a bribe, not just a passing reference or suspicion, but line items detailing payments made to a judge presiding over a corporate fraud case. A case Drew had a vested interest in, one that had ended favorably for him under highly unusual circumstances. He thought he'd won that battle on merit, but now it looked like someone had manipulated the outcome in his favor. And the most disturbing part? The transactions were routed through a shell company that Drew recognized, one tied to an account previously linked to Nina Reeves. Drew's mind immediately rejected the possibility. Nina had no motive. They were adversaries more often than not, especially after the fallout between her and Carly. But as he dug deeper, he discovered inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. The bribe had been orchestrated behind the scenes by a third party, but the money originated from a corporate account Nina had once controlled while overseeing Crimson's integration into Aurora. It was a loophole Drew hadn't noticed before, a temporary merger strategy that had left financial access in the hands of a few executives, Nina included. At first, Drew tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Nina's name had been used without her knowledge. But as he cross-referenced dates and tracked who was where at what time, the coincidences piled too high.